Breaking news that could change your financial situation overnight. The White House has just released a shocking report revealing details about former President Trump's proposed $7,200 stimulus plan that could be hitting American bank accounts sooner than anyone expected. Is this the economic lifeline millions of Americans have been desperately waiting for? Will this be the largest direct payment to citizens in U.S. history? Stay with me because I'm about to break down everything you need to know about this massive financial development. Before we dive deeper, make sure you hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you never miss critical updates that could impact your wallet. Your financial future might depend on it. The economic landscape of America has been through tremendous upheaval in recent years. From pandemic shutdowns to inflation spikes and everything in between, everyday Americans have felt the squeeze on their finances like never before. But now, according to a newly released White House economic assessment, Trump's administration has been crafting what many analysts are calling the most ambitious direct stimulus package ever proposed in American history. The centerpiece of this economic revival plan? A potential $7,200 payment to qualifying American households that could begin distribution within months. This isn't just another vague political promise. This report contains concrete implementation strategies and funding mechanisms that suggest this plan has moved beyond the planning stage and into the preparation phase. The question on everyone's mind is simple: who qualifies for this substantial payment? Unlike previous stimulus measures that cast a relatively wide net, this plan appears to be more precisely targeted toward working and middle-class Americans who have been most affected by recent economic challenges. According to the report, households earning under $150,000 annually would receive the full benefit, with a gradual phase-out for those earning up to $200,000. What makes this particularly noteworthy is that the payment would be per household, not per individual, representing a significant departure from earlier stimulus structures. But perhaps the most revolutionary aspect is that these payments would potentially be structured as tax credits rather than direct payments, making them accessible even to Americans who don't have traditional banking relationships. Could this be the economic game changer that finally addresses the wealth gap that has been growing exponentially in America? Financial experts are divided, with some praising the bold approach while others express concerns about potential inflationary impacts. The timing of this announcement has raised eyebrows across Washington. Why now? What does the administration know about the economic forecast that might have triggered such an aggressive stimulus proposal? Some economic analysts suggest this could be a preemptive strike against a projected downturn that hasn't yet materialized in mainstream economic indicators. The White House report outlines several key objectives beyond just providing immediate financial relief. It positions this stimulus as part of a broader economic revitalization strategy aimed at stimulating consumer spending, preventing foreclosures and evictions, and ultimately generating sustainable economic growth from the bottom up. This approach reflects a growing recognition that trickle-down economics hasn't delivered the promised results for average Americans over the past several decades. Instead, this direct-to-consumer stimulus represents an acknowledgement that putting money directly into the hands of everyday citizens might be the most effective way to energize the economy. But what would $7,200 actually mean for the average American household? For many families, this sum represents nearly 3 months of rent or mortgage payments. For others, it could mean paying off accumulated medical debt or credit card balances that have been growing under high interest rates. For small business owners, it could provide the capital needed to weather continued economic uncertainty or even expand operations. And for those living paycheck to paycheck, a reality for approximately 64% of Americans according to recent surveys, it could mean the difference between financial stability and crisis. The mechanics of distribution remain a critical question. How quickly could Americans expect to see this money if the plan moves forward? The report suggests an ambitious timeline with initial distributions possibly beginning within 60-90 days of final approval. This accelerated schedule would be made possible through the use of existing IRS systems established during previous stimulus distributions, but with significant technological upgrades to address the delays and errors that plagued earlier efforts. The plan also includes provisions for those without direct deposit information on file with the IRS, with physical checks and debit cards being prepared as alternatives. What about the economic implications for inflation? This is perhaps the most contentious aspect of the proposal. Critics argue that injecting billions of dollars into the economy could further fuel inflation that has already proved challenging to contain. However, Supporters of the plan point to specific anti-inflationary measures built into the stimulus package, including provisions that encourage saving portions of the payment and investments in productivity-enhancing sectors of the economy. The report itself addresses these concerns directly, citing economic modeling that suggests the targeted nature of this stimulus would limit inflationary pressure while maximizing economic benefit. How does this stimulus plan compare to international approaches? Many European and Asian countries have employed similar direct payment strategies during economic downturns with varying degrees of success. Japan's economic stimulus packages, for instance, have included direct payments to citizens but paired them with structural reforms. Germany's approach has focused more on subsidizing employers to maintain employment levels rather than sending checks to individuals. The American approach seems to be charting a middle path, combining direct payments with targeted economic development initiatives in regions hardest hit by economic change. The political ramifications of this proposal cannot be overstated. With midterm elections approaching, both parties are keenly aware of how economic issues influence voter behavior. Will this bold economic move reshape the political landscape? Historical precedent suggests that presidents who preside over economic booms tend to see their parties perform well in subsequent elections. However, the complexity of modern economic systems makes it difficult to predict whether this stimulus would generate noticeable improvements in economic indicators before voters head to the polls. Consumer confidence metrics will be closely watched in the coming months, as they often serve as leading indicators of economic direction. If the mere announcement of this potential stimulus boosts consumer sentiment, it could create a positive feedback loop that benefits the economy even before any money is distributed. This psychological aspect of economic policy is often overlooked but can be just as powerful as the direct financial impact. When consumers feel confident about their financial future, they're more likely to make purchases, invest, and participate in economic activities that drive growth. What steps can you take now to prepare for this potential windfall? Financial advisors recommend creating a prioritized plan for how you would use such funds before they arrive. For many households, addressing high-interest debt should be the first priority, followed by establishing or strengthening emergency savings. Only after these fundamental financial needs are addressed should households consider using stimulus funds for discretionary spending or investments. Having this plan in place can prevent impulsive decisions and maximize the long-term benefit of any stimulus payment. The global economic community is watching these developments with great interest. International markets often react to major economic policy shifts in the United States, and a stimulus of this magnitude could have ripple effects throughout the global economy. Will other nations follow suit with their own direct payment programs? How will currency markets respond to this injection of capital into the American economy? These questions remain open as the international community assesses the potential global impact of America's domestic economic policy. As we continue to monitor this developing story, one thing is clear: economic policy decisions made in Washington have real-world implications for families across America. Will this stimulus plan ultimately move from proposal to reality? The coming weeks will be critical as congressional committees begin their assessment of the plan and political negotiations determine its final form. For now, Americans can only wait and hope that financial relief may finally be on the horizon after years of economic uncertainty. Remember to subscribe to our channel for continued updates on this developing story and all the economic news that impacts your financial well-being. Drop a comment below with your thoughts on this stimulus proposal and how it might affect your household budget. This could be the economic breakthrough millions have been waiting for. Stay tuned as we bring you the latest developments as they happen.